Well, hello. Hello. I've been dying to get my hands on all of you today. That's not really true. But I want to start out by sharing a little story which sort of sets up why I decided to talk about this subject, or probably more how I wanted to talk about it. And it takes you back 16 years ago. So 16 years ago, I was standing on an L platform on the Red Line in the tunnel around Christmas time. So imagine everyone in their big woolly parkas. It's actually kind of sweaty down there because it's so packed at rush hour. And there's the wonderful street musicians that are playing music. And right as the train started approaching the terminal, one of the musicians started playing one of my favorite Christmas songs, which is "O Holy Night." So regardless of your religious affiliation, you've probably heard that song and that refrain, which just screams in my ears, you know, fall on your knees, right? Which has always given me goosebumps. So I'm walking onto the train and I start feeling those tingles, which pretty quickly started turning to, oh my God, I'm gonna start crying. And I'm not just gonna have like a romantic trickle. This was like a full-on convulsion, right? And I'm trapped in this car like this, and I didn't know what to do, and I, even more importantly, couldn't understand what was going on. You know, why was I having this strong reaction to a song I've heard 1,000 times? Well, as I'm sitting there trying to pull it together, this hand comes from behind and hands me a tissue, which of course initially made me cry even harder. Like, oh! And then it was a woman, and her hand went on my back, and all she said was, "Everything's going to be okay." And that was a transformational moment for me, and I didn't know at the time that what I was experiencing was the beginning of a mindset shift. You see, 2 months earlier, I had left a 7-year marriage, a cozy little house in Barrington, had moved 3 times in 60 days, lived on friends' couches, had all my possessions, which included a futon mattress, a couple boxes of stuff, and my dog. I had quit my job. I started a brand new job in a big corporate company, something I aspired to do, international thing, and I was there. I had arrived. Everything I had planned, everything I had orchestrated. But what I hadn't done was let my mind and my heart catch up with the actions that I took. So when I look back, and I was thinking about the topic of mindset, which is something that in my work as a coach, I do a lot of executive presence coaching. I do a lot of the same kind of stuff you guys do. Mindset, it's like everyone said today, preaching to the choir. We have all the assessments, all the tools in the world, but at the underlying core of it, it's often mindset issues for people. And I realized that in addition to a huge transformational moment that I was having, I also, when I walked off that train, started shifting my mindset from one of, I'm no longer in the past of having self-doubt, being afraid, what was I doing with my life, I'm all alone. I actually started right then and there shifting my mindset about where I was. I had actually done everything. I had ended a marriage amicably. I had mended relationships. I had gotten this job, like all these things. I started telling myself a different story. And I look back and I realized that was the beginning of my passion and my beginning of my transformational journey, which, as you all know, never ends. And what really propelled me into the career that I have now. So I want to share with you the importance of mindset. We all know what it is. And this is actually something that Jeff and I and another colleague of ours, we're writing a book on right now. So it's a very, very hot topic in my personal and professional dialogue that I have all the time. So Webster's definition. I guess we don't really, just like you. I'm like, oh, we think the same. Mindset, attitude, or inclination, or a fixed state of mind. I like looking at it like this. Take a look at that for a second. Now, the thing that resonates with me is the set of beliefs or a way of thinking. And I feel like a belief is really just a habit of thought. And that can be changed. But as we grow up, we don't believe that. We believe that our beliefs are the truth, right? And we've seen this with our clients all the time. And what I want to challenge all of you to think about today are, what are the things that you're working on right now or about to work on, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, that you either feel stuck or you're scared of or you're about to launch into something new? What are your beliefs about yourself? As a mother, as a friend, as a business professional, as a wife, whatever it might be, as a husband? And take a look at this list. I mean, we could add a lot more, right? It's often, I'm too blah, 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 or I'm not enough, blah, 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 right? And these are the mindsets that we carry with us about bigger kind of systemic things in our life, and they're also things that happen instantaneously for us. I'm reminded of a client that I actually took on recently. He was asked to get a coach because he's a junior partner in a firm. He's doing really well, one of those classic super smarty pant independent contributors that's getting client exposure, and he's awkward in front of clients. So of course the partners are like, get him a coach, give him more confidence. So in the work that we do, we have the mechanics, stand up straight, look people in the eye, don't flail about. The messaging, how are you structuring your message, all very important things, and things that analytics get, right? But the missing piece is mindset. So the first couple of sessions, I gave him the Realize 2. His number one strength was humility, is humility. And so what we came to recognize as we started talking was that this is a really beautiful strength to have in this competitive firm that he's in. No one else is showing it at all. And it's also the thing that's sort of he's overplaying and holding him back. So it's the first time that he ever took a look at a mindset issue for himself. And so we're at the beginning of this process of unraveling that for him. And I would say that he's at the stage of recognizing a need. Now, obviously, when you're asked to get a coach, you recognize, I have to change. But I think what he thought he had to change was to learn how to look people in the eye and speak louder, which he has to do too. But that's not really that's not the heart of the matter, what really needs to be worked on. So he's recognizing it, and now he's making a choice to shift his mindset and his beliefs and where that came from, and bring it into balance, and bring that strength into the organization, and let that kind of freak flag fly, which no one else is doing, right? So I want to shift to talk about our steps that we talk about in terms of shifting your mindset. And there's a whole bunch of philosophies on this. Carol Dweck writes a lot about it, about how you growth mindset, fixed mindset. One of the things that we talk about first is recognizing the need to shift it. And a couple people have said today that who was talking about the 2% is what we know, and then there's all the rest we don't know what we don't know, and we don't even know that we don't know it, that whole thing. Well, once you recognize that there's something in that realm of what you don't know about yourself, it's like the light bulb goes off. And it's our job as coaches to help break that open for people and then let them discover the methods, but more importantly, make the choice. And so now he's at the point where he's making this choice. Now I look back at myself on that train platform or in that train car where I was having that breakdown, and I recognized very clearly, even though I didn't know a thing about mindset, that something had to change or I was just going to have the same life I had just left in a very short space of time. I needed to tell a different story about myself and empower myself with different beliefs. And I had to make the choice. Now, making the choice, I think, right in and of itself, making a choice, regardless of how you do it, that is the beginning of the shift, right? It's almost like dropping the oars in the water. Once you accept what is and you just breathe a little bit, there's relief in that. And I think we've all experienced those moments where when that relief comes, it's like, okay, now whatever your belief system is, divine intelligence, unconscious thinking, has a portal to get through, to help answer the questions, to help solve the problem, whatever it is for you. And so then you have to choose that technique. And that's the third step. So, myriad of techniques. I'm just going to share a few. This will be good fodder for dinner maybe later to hear everyone else's techniques. But the first one is to tell a different story. How many of you can relate to that? Just tell a different story. Now, that might sound really simple, but if I go back to my personal example, I had to tell a different story. I could not continue to tell the story of, this young woman who made the bad choice of marrying the wrong guy, and now she's in this new job, but she's really not qualified for it, and what is she doing there, and why the hell is she living on a futon mattress and left all her belongings because she felt guilty, blah, blah, blah. And that was the story I was telling everybody. But I didn't even have that life anymore. It was crazy. So I had to learn to tell a different story about myself, you know, and I still tell different stories all the time about different things. So think about if you need to tell a different story about yourself. Is there something that you're going through right now that you're over-identifying with a past persona? Or if your current reality is the only story that you're telling and you're not looking at possibilities of what could be? And what does that do for your mindset in terms of bringing that into manifestation or fruition for yourself? The other is to find a trusted partner. We all have, I mean, this room is full of them, right? Find that one person who knows that when the phone rings that you want to be challenged, that you're actually ready. You know, we all at those points where we just want to complain for a little bit longer. We're not ready to get off it. And so when I call Jeff or we're together, and we always qualify the questions, are you ready to get off it yet? Do you want to go there? Yes. To help unblock your thinking, because sometimes we're so tethered to our story or our point of view or the reality, the circumstances that are affecting us, that we can't see other possibilities. Finding that partner, I think, is really crucial. This is one I've been playing with like for the last 18 months, like you can't believe, delaying action. How many of you can relate to when you're in that quasi-crisis mode or any kind of situation where you know something needs to change or something needs to be done, and our first inclination is to act, work longer hours, put more data in the spreadsheet, clean the house more, you know, get the hair straighter on the kid, whatever it might be, do more, action, action, action to alleviate whatever stress or overwhelmment that we might be feeling. And I have found for myself, and even with clients that I've introduced this concept to, and my kids as well, that when we take action from that place of, it's really usually not going to produce the best results. And it's certainly not from a mindset of success or gearing us in a place where we want to go. So that's the time when resisting action is probably in doing nothing, which to most of us, especially all the women in the room, it feels lazy. Sometimes we need to just be lazy and let it go and wait for, again, the answers to come when the brain isn't all crazy wired for getting us out of whatever perceived tragedy we think is happening to us. This is a new one that actually Jeff has been talking about, which is creating a game. He created a game out of paying taxes, which is sort of funny. So when he started his business and he was told by his CPA to put 25% aside in a tax savings account, every time he would do that, he felt like, you know, he was losing, not losing a game, but just losing, like they're just going to take my money and so he started to think, you know what if I put a little bit extra in there? What would happen? How would I feel if I started to make a game out of this, like trying to beat the system? And what he found at the end of the first year was that he didn't owe as much as he thought he did, and he had all this extra money, and he had won the game. And actually it was energizing for him and a challenge to put that extra money aside. Additionally, he had a different mindset. The more successful his business was, the higher his taxes were. That meant he was successful. So maybe there's a game you need to create. And then the last one, which we've talked about and we've actually participated in a lot today, and I look at this as sort of a pre-paver, if you will, like a sustainable practice that if you get into the habit of meditation, and I don't know how many of you do this with your clients, I'm sure pretty much all of us do, encouraging them to meditate or pray, whatever way they can do to quiet their mind on a regular basis, just to sort of get that vibration a little bit more aligned with what they want and what you want. And the more you do it, the more I find that I do it, the more I find that in an instant, like if there's a hot button situation that is happening, I'm cut off in traffic even, I can go to that place much more quickly if my practice is strong every single day. So I know that there are others, and I look forward to hearing what some of your techniques are to shift your mindset, to set you up for success, to get you what you want. And in coaching situations with our clients, or even in group situations, helping them see that there are options, and that there are many more options once they shift their mindset to one that is getting them toward what they want. And I just want to close by just going back to that story 16 years ago. It's just so funny. You know, I know that I desperately wanted a family, and at that point I thought, I'm 30 years old, and what am I doing leaving a husband? I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids. And, you know, what am I doing? Like old mindset. And I started shifting it. And who would have thought that I would have gone from that to where I am today? And I just wanted to share my family, my beautiful family, which, you know, every day inspires me and teaches me. And if you need to shift your mindset, just hang out with these high energy kids for a couple days. So, thank you.